Good morning. It is Tuesday, and if it's Tuesday, it's a Jason Sukamel day back from vacation, right? Jason, you feel good and rested?
I wouldn't say rested, Almore. A few days in Vegas with my best beer drinking buddy is not exactly a resting vacation, but I had a good time. And then I went from Vegas. I flew from Vegas to Santa Fe. My wife met me in Santa Fe and did a little, let's say, resting. My wife's one of these girls. We go on vacation. She drags me on these freaking hikes. So I had to hike up a mountain in Santa Fe. So rested, no. Was it good to get away? Absolutely.
Well, good, man. Well, I'm glad that you're back, and you're back here for Texas, Florida week. And it was interesting, Jason, because all this is going to segue into and all tie into recruiting rankings from the past and where we are now. But it's interesting, Jason, because going into the season and the off season, we kind of thought to ourselves, man, this is going to be an Arch Manning versus Lagway kind of battle. Like this could be the battle of two former five stars. And Jason, as we kind of approach this thing, it's almost like that's we're going to be talking about a defensive, struggle, defensive battle, and the quarterbacks. I mean, it's kind of like those guys. If it's a concert, that they're performing at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're the local act. They're not even close to the headliners. I'm curious your thoughts on this whole Manning Lagway thing, and maybe why it's not meeting up to what we thought it was going to be going into the season.
Yeah, both players were number one in the country in their class. Why is it not meeting up? I don't know if it's, both guys are pressing. You were at Sark's press conference yesterday, and he mentioned like he watched football and he saw a bunch of highly touted quarterback prospects who, he didn't say this, but they're playing pretty bad football. And it's funny, man, I wrote in my column, like literally, I mentioned I was in Santa Fe. My wife took me hiking. I dragged her to a sports bar, and I'm watching all these games on Saturday. I'm like, this is bad quarterback play from guys who are supposed to be really good. Nussmeier at LSU, and obviously homeboy at Auburn, who is terrible. So, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're pressing, if they just don't have the talents around them that we thought they did, but they're not playing good football. DJ Lagway, more touchdowns than interceptions. Arch had a really good game against Sam Houston. I'm like, okay, that's good, but I need to see more than that. I want to see Arch play well this weekend before I'm ready to say, okay, Arch is over that hump. So, I don't know what it is, but you're right. It's not the marquee quarterback matchup we thought we would be seeing. If we were looking at this game a month and a half ago, we thought, hey, these are two guys who could be legitimate Heisman finalists. I mean, hell, Arch was the Heisman favorite at that time. Now, if you're like me, I'm thinking, does 20 points win this game? Does the quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over is the one who's the best bus driver, the one who wins this game? They don't have to go out and be Superman necessarily. Just don't lose the game for your team. That's what kind of quarterback play we're looking at. Now, watch, I say that, and Arch will go out for 300 and Lagway will throw for 250 or something. But yeah, it hasn't been stellar play to start the season for either quarterback. But at least Arch is coming in off of a high note, so he's got that to build upon.
I mean, the thing is, Jason, though, for those who may not be familiar, because everyone knows the Arch story, like you said, Lagway was that dude. Now, it was interesting because Sark said they recruited him, and I didn't necessarily remember that. Maybe they did, but he was obviously as a five-star. I just give everyone the background on him. I just don't remember a lot of Texas talk as relates to Lagway.
There was none. I was surprised to hear Sark say that. Maybe there was stuff going on behind the scenes that I was not aware of, but he never visited Texas that I'm aware of. Texas just never really showed him any interest at all that I'm aware of. So, that was the year they went for Julian Sayin was on their radar. Trey Owens is who they took. So, I don't think they were going to get DJ Lagway on the heels of getting Arch. So, I don't know that Texas ever recruited him from what I remember. I mean, I certainly wasn't aware of that if it happened. Maybe they threw him a courtesy letter here and there or something just to see if there was an interest. But Trey Owens committed pretty early and they shut it down. But, I'm looking at Lagway's profile. I mean, he was literally the number one quarterback for On3, 24/7, ESPN, Rivals, number one quarterback in the country for all four rating services. And you can see it like online. I remember seeing Lagway at camps, And I remember talking to some other writers actually from Oklahoma. Oklahoma was a school that recruited him pretty heavily. He's a big dude with a big arm. And, I didn't follow his high school career super closely because he wasn't really on my recruiting radar, but like he's got NFL prototypical size, arm strength, that kind of stuff. He was really good in high school. But when I saw him at the camps, I don't know, man, I was like, he didn't stand out from he wasn't bad by any means, but he didn't stand out from some of the other quarterbacks that were in attendance, much lower rated guys. So I didn't see it from that perspective, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, I followed his every game and watched his every throw and watched his every move. But obviously, I mean, listen, was he a sophomore, right? Because he played as a freshman last year. So he's clearly not living up to the expectations. He was probably thrown into the fire quicker than he maybe should have been or wanted to have been. But hey, it's year 2. You got some valuable experience last year, and he's regressed in year 2. We'll see if he can get it turned around. But it doesn't look really good so far.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because Sark will talk about it, and it's, I don't know if he's talked himself into hey, I just got to respect this Florida team and I've got to respect this Florida program, because it's interesting when he says certain things like, hey, the Swamp, that's such a tough place to play in. And I'm like, well, it wasn't that tough at USF. I mean, USF kind of walked out of there with a victory. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It seems like it's tougher for Florida, than anything else. If you had to put, a wager on like which one of these quarterbacks would be the one that we're looking at the stat line and saying that quarterback won the quarterback day, which one would you put your money on right now?
That's easy for me. That's Arch Manning. I mean, and listen, Lagway has potential, but it's potential. So is Arch to some degree. But yeah, I fully expect Arch to win that quarterback battle. I expect Texas to win this game. Listen, if neither of those things happen, Anwar, if Arch doesn't win the quarterback battle, or if Texas wins this game 17-14, that's a red flag for me moving forward. I did my rankings. I don't know if you've turned in your SEC rankings yet.
Not yet.
Okay, well, I did mine. I always posted my 3-2-1, then I just sent them to Catch. So I posted mine last night. I've got Florida 14th out of 16 teams in the conference.
That's kind. I've had them at dead last for the last 2 weeks, and it'll probably be number 3 for me.
Yeah, okay. Well, I have Arkansas below them and Kentucky. And Arkansas had been playing pretty good football, but they just threw in the towel against Notre Dame, so I dropped them. In Kentucky, I have last. Now, Texas, everybody gives me shit, but I got Texas much lower than everybody else. And again, like I always say, hey, I'm ranking these things on today. Next week, my things may look dramatically different. If Texas goes out and beats up on Florida, I'll move them up. But I've got Texas at 7. I got Ole Miss 1, Bama 2, A&M 3, Vandy 4, Georgia 5, Tennessee, then Texas. Everybody's like, how can you have Texas at 6, 7? I'm like, who above them have they played better than? They haven't. Sam Houston State notwithstanding. So, but regardless, these things my rankings are going to really sort themselves out over the next couple of weeks now that we're full on into conference play. So, bottom line is, my point is, I don't think Florida's a very good football team. I don't think Lagway is very good, not right now. May that flip switch at some point this week? It could, or this season it could. I don't think it flips this week against a very good Texas defense. So I'm expecting Texas to win this game. If Texas is the team we think that it's going to be, Texas needs to win this game. They're only a 7-point favorite, which I thought was surprising. But, they need to win this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns. But to answer your question, I would feel pretty comfortable if I was back in Vegas, Anwar, and you said, who's going to have the better day, Arch or Lagway? I would put my money on Arch, and I feel pretty comfortable about it.
Okay, well, let's get into the.
You know what? I'm going back to Vegas. That sounds pretty damn good. Now that
hey, listen. We got another bye week in a few weeks, man. So
my flight out to Vegas, you'll love this, Anwar. I booked it months ago. It was like $19 or something like that, dude. And I got free room. I got a free room in Vegas at the Planet Hollywood. And then I used points to fly home. So my Vegas trips are really pretty inexpensive, minus the money I give to the casinos while I'm out there. So.
Only the casinos, Jason? Or
Well, this time, yeah, only the casinos and a bar. Nothing too crazy. Yes.
I'm just saying, Vegas is known for some other adult entertainment there as well.
I've been there, done that. I got stories for that, but those are for another day. Yes.
So, Jason, explain to me. It's interesting. Because when you pointed out in the column where Arch has struggled, Lagway struggled, but a lot of these quarterbacks across the country have struggled. And and we've talked a little bit about in the past about that, the 2023 class and all the 5 stars that were in that 2023 class and how the overwhelming majority of those guys have struggled, whether it's been Nico, Jackson Arnold, Malachi, Arch. I mean, Dante Moore, maybe it's whatever you want to think of him. Why? I'm just curious, Jason, from an industry standpoint, why do you think that so many of these quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks, who we keep getting, we're always told and hammered in that, hey, you get this 5-star, and then Catch will give you all his stats on 5 stars that go to the NFL and blah, blah, blah. Why do you think so many of those guys, though, are really off to like shaky starts and not really hitting the ground running the way we have expected?
Man, I wish I knew the answer to that. I have a problem even coming up with a guess, and I heard Sark, and I ranked, someone asked me in my column to rank the top 10 quarterbacks from that class if I had to re-rank them. And my goodness, there's some dismal quarterback play from top 10 national quarterbacks. So in that class, it's terrible. Like after you get through like 3, it's like, does it really matter? These next 7 haven't done anything. So you could pretty much slot them however. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's like, I've seen people say, oh, it's the transfer portal because then they don't have timing and this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, you get all spring and all off season. And, I know Sark yesterday said, hey, he watched some of those quarterbacks. He didn't name them by name, but he goes, and we'll see those guys in the NFL. And I'm like, will we? Because when I was watching those guys on Saturday, the thing that I kept thinking was like, these guys are the future of the NFL? Are you kidding me? Like none of these guys look like NFL quarterbacks.
John Mateer was a Heisman candidate up until a week ago, and that seems like a stretch when you really think about it.
Yeah, and Arch is what he is. I mean, we think he's going to be fine and have a good rest of the season, but he's struggled. I'm looking. Dante Moore is the Heisman frontrunner right now, but Nico Iamaleava, or however they say, Jackson Arnold, Malachi Nelson, Jaden Rashada, Eli Holstein. There's a bunch of names. Avery Johnson at K-State is okay, but I mean, those guys, none of them have done much of anything. I don't know what the answer is, if it's just an off year, but then it's, I was thinking about this the other day too, Omar. This is random. You got me on a random sidetrack here, but like, which quarterbacks are doing well? The dude at Tennessee, right? And was he a small school or even a JUCO guy? I know he's a small school guy. I don't remember if it was JUCO. And Diego Pavia, who is a former JUCO guy, is now in the Heisman conversation. He's not going to win it because Vanderbilt's going to lose some games probably starting this week. But Diego Pavia, every time I look up, was like, hell, last week was like 350 yards and almost 100 yards rushing. It's like, maybe that's the route. Like everybody goes to the portal and wants to get Nico and all the, Dante Moore, who's doing really well. Jackson Arnold, not so much. Maybe the answer on Omar is to go find a small school quarterback who's tearing it up. Because you know what? If they're doing that at a small school, there's maybe a pretty good chance they'll do it at a bigger stage. I don't know, but I just thought that was interesting. I was like, man, those two guys are playing as good a football as any quarterbacks in the SEC, and they both came in from small schools, even junior college. In the case of Diego. So.
Well, and even Jason, they went to get Matthew Caldwell out of the portal as a backup for Arch, as opposed to using the guys on the roster. Now that probably is more of an indictment on Trey Owens than it is on anybody else. But to your point, the small school route has worked. But it's interesting. What's fascinating to me, Jason, as relates to that, they'll I heard what Sark said, and he talked about the attention, and someone asked him about the media attention and all those kind of things, and I kind of like, I don't know, like how that affects you in your practice. Like you still got to go out and practice, and to me, Jason, these guys should be better off. Because I hear that everyone tries to make a comparison. They'll say, well, Vince started off at slow, and look what Vince became, and Colt started off, but to me, it's different eras, Jason, because those guys showed up in the summer, right, of their freshman year. So we're talking about freshmen. We're talking about that. We're not talking about quarterback camps like the way that we've had these quarterback whisperers that you work with all year round, 7-on-7s, right? I mean, those guys had less. So for me, these guys come in and they've actually had more training, more preparation, food, nutrition, you name it, the whole nine, and then the money to go out and do it. Like, there's a part of me that makes it even more confusing.
Right.
That, well, why is it? And again, you may not have the answer, and maybe it's more of a statement than a question, but it makes it more confusing on my end, Jason, that with more resources, sometimes we're seeing less from these guys.
Yeah, they should come in far more advanced, right? I mean, like you said, they have personalized quarterbacks coaches from the time they're in middle school, and these guys are traveling the country now, going to camps and getting lessons and things of that nature. But yeah, it's almost a regression. I mean, Colt was really good as a freshman, but I should know that Colt redshirted. Yeah. So, but I don't have an answer, but you're right. They come in more advanced with a lot more training. They get to campus earlier. I don't know if defenses are that much more sophisticated where it's throwing guys off. But even like when I'm watching these games, I'm sure that's part of it in the schemes and that in the other. But they're just missing throws. I'm like, hold on, you're supposed to be a 5-star quarterback. You should be able to hit a guy that's running wide open downfield. The other thing that Sark said, Omar, that I strongly disagree with, and I know that's not where this conversation. He said, hey, they still need to be college kids, and they still need to play football, not work football. I get it. He's like, they're not pros. I'm like, no, they are professional athletes. Yeah. And these dudes are making millions of dollars per year. Mm-hmm. These are professional athletes. We don't need to treat them like kids anymore. If a guy sucks, I'm going to say it. Jackson Arnold sucks. And that guy's a professional athlete. I've been saying it. That's not the first time you've heard me say that. Frankly, Almar, I've talked to other media guys who, we're out there covering recruiting. We're like, even as recruits, I'm like, these dudes are no longer high school amateur athletes. I mean, yeah, we handle them with kid gloves to some degree, more so than we do once they get to college. But I mean, these dudes, even as high school athletes, are negotiating $1 million contracts. They're not kids anymore. So let's not treat them that way. These guys are professional athletes, and I get it. And Sark said, and someone in the chat, Dave Frank said, media overhypes people. Well, there's some truth to that, Dave, and they're under the spotlight now. And you got social media, and I mean, you can watch all of their highlights from every high school game, and people are talking about them on all social media platforms and huddle videos, and we critique everything they do. That's all true, but hey, dude, you're a professional athlete at this point. It all comes with the territory. So, I disagree with the statement, hey, that they're still college athletes or college players, college kids. No, man, they are. They're college young men, but they're professionals at that point. And if you're going to demand $1 million contracts, then you got to perform. And if you don't, you're going to get called out for it.
Well, the thing about the media portion struggle for me, Jason, in the conversation is, can you really overhype a guy who's got an offer by Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame? Like, if every program is after them, and this is before we even get into the rankings, okay? Because with all those guys, it's kind of like, for me, it's like the Mel Kiper thing, right? Let me explain it. People will give Mel Kiper crap because maybe he projects the guy's going to be something good, and the guy fails, right? But I look at it as, well, Mel Kiper's just one guy. It's more of an indictment to me on the teams themselves, who have millions of dollars that they invest into, the pre-draft process, and then a guy's a flop. So I don't hold Mel Kiper more responsible than, say, the Raiders for a guy who's a bust, or the Bucks or Dallas or something like that, right? That's kind of how I look at the recruiting rankings for me. I look at it as, well, yes, maybe the recruiting rankings, maybe they got it wrong, but at the end of the day, well, so did every single coach that recruited these guys. And those guys who have massive recruiting departments, I can't hold them more accountable than I hold Sukamel for saying someone is a certain thing, or catch for his ranking. So I look at it when they say it's overhyped. I'm like, is it overhyped, or is it giving them the necessary hype that their rankings and their recruiting deserves? You're not finding random guys in the Austin area to write about, right, Jason? You just aren't pulling guys out your head and like, what? There's this guy from Pflugerville Weiss. I just feel like I should write about him, right? You're going after the guys who are like Georgia's after, Texas is after, so on and so forth. So I don't know. That's one part of it for me, Jason, like my soapbox, right? And then the other thing is, it's no matter what your hype is, it's still on the coaches to develop these guys, right? Once they get on campus, that's not a media thing. That's a coaching thing. And to me, if you have a guy who hasn't developed, that's not because Jason Sukamel said he was a 5-star 3 years ago. That's been passed off. So that's just my slight defense of the media there.
Well, and these players that have had, if you got a guy, player X, who has offers from Ohio State and Alabama and Texas and USC, so that's been around for 50 years. Okay, the only thing that overhypes them now is the social media aspect of it. People dissect everything and pick them apart and critique them, and it's all. But hey, like, players don't have to read that stuff. Nobody's forcing them to read it. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There is some value. I mean, to me, like, if I look at a recruiting ranking, like, okay, for instance, there's a guy, Dre Quinn, that I wrote about in my 3-2-1, that he decommitted from Clemson. Texas is trying to flip him. He's a 3-star, which I was a little surprised at because he didn't used to be. But Texas wants him. Obviously, Clemson wanted him. I think Georgia's involved there, Ohio State. I'm like, okay, that means more to me than his ranking does. When I look and say, okay, if those coaches want you, that speaks volumes. And you know what? It should, because that's their livelihood. My livelihood isn't ranking recruits. I do a million things on Orange Bloods, one of which is try to tell recruits stories, but it's not my job to go out and evaluate and rank recruits. And my job and my productivity doesn't depend on it the way it does for college coaches and their recruiting staff. So you're right. It's on them to get it right, not us, right? And it's on them to develop those guys. But it is bewildering when a guy like DJ Lagway is having such struggles. Because DJ Lagway could have literally picked up the phone on the last day of his recruitment and called any school in the country, and the coach would have said, "Oh my goodness, come on in. We welcome you with open arms." So I don't know, man. I mean, how do so many people, and again, I'm not burying DJ Lagway. He may wind up being the number 1 draft pick someday, but how do so many people, some of those names we mentioned are, from that same class or from March's class, how do so many college coaches, how have they gotten it so wrong? Which also, so did the rankings services, to be fair. But how did everybody miss so badly on so many of those dudes? I don't know, man. I'll be curious to see over the next 3 or 4 years if that is a 1-year anomaly, or is that going to be kind of the norm of those kind of quarterback recruiting rankings? And frankly, Elmore, to me, quarterback's one of the easier positions to evaluate. You can go to a camp and you're like, oh shit, that guy's got it. That guy not so much. So I don't understand. It's really been an odd cycle with some of these top end or high profile recruits that have just really struggled or not even found their way to the field at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, you have the Lagway thing, and I'm actually just looking at 2024 out of curiosity, and I see Rayola's in there. I see Julian Sang in there as well, and a lot of other young guys. And of course Trey Owens, which I don't even know what to make of that at this moment as well, Jason. Jason, let's do something fun real quick. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put this up on the screen here. Let's go a little bit into your 3-2-1. Let's talk about your rankings.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
So, all your rankings here, your power rankings, and I haven't come out with mine. I'll do mine tomorrow. You moved Ole Miss up to the number 1 spot, Jason.
Yeah, I struggled with that. I almost put Bama. I think Bama might be the best team in the SEC. I know they got thumped by Florida State in week 1. I don't understand how that happened. I still don't understand how that game unfolded the way it did, but I think that's a really good Bama football team. They're starting to get good quarterback play. In Ole Miss, I put them number 1 because they're undefeated. That offense keeps putting up bunches of points and bunches of yards. But I'm not. I mean, yeah, they beat LSU at home. I mean, okay, that's fine. But I think LSU kind of is average at best. But I went with Ole Miss over Alabama, but I struggled with that one.
Okay, A&M there. You moved Vanderbilt up 1, and then Georgia. Now let me ask you this: how did you feel about dropping Georgia at 5 below Vanderbilt?
It's tough because, like, if they played on a neutral field, I would probably pick Georgia just because my head wouldn't let me do otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But that Georgia offense is not very good. Meanwhile, every time I look at Vanderbilt, they're putting up 50-something points. I mean, Vandy goes at Alabama this week. We'll see what they're made of this week. But, you know, if I'm ranking it on what my eyes have shown me and what these teams have done through the first 4 or 5 weeks, Vanderbilt's played really good football, man. I mean, they beat the pants off of everybody. And, like, they played Utah State last week, okay? And they beat them 55-35. And they did beat South Carolina 31-7. They beat Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech's not very good. But that Utah State team, I was like, ooh, that's not a very good win. But then I look at Utah State. They've played – I mean, they were 3-1 coming into the game. They beat UTEP about the same as what Texas beat UTEP. They beat UTEP 28-16. They lost to A&M 44-22, but they put up, you know, a pretty good fight against A&M. They beat Air Force 49-30. So – and then Vanderbilt goes out and beats them 55-35. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Vandy, they scored 45, 44, 31, 70, and 55. That offense is humming. So I've got Vanderbilt number 4. But, again, I think these rankings are something's going to give this week and over the next couple weeks with all these teams.
Texas, you moved them up 2 points, 2 slots, actually, Jason.
Well, part of that is because LSU dropped, and then last week I had Oklahoma ranked ahead of Texas because Mateer was healthy. And I think if Mateer was healthy, I said it there, I'd probably have him around number 4 because I think Oklahoma was playing really good football on both sides of the ball. But without Mateer, I just can't see Oklahoma being a top 5 team in the conference.
Yeah, and then the thing that stood out to me a little bit here is, and you did ask a good question at a number 11, Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Is that? I mean, based off of what we had seen, even this, in spite of this past weekend, which still for them is competitive, right? I mean, that's good for Mississippi State. With a loss against Tennessee, did you drop them too much, Jason? Or actually, are you making them too low based off of what you've seen so far? Maybe,
man. I mean, that's as you can see, I have Tennessee, I think number 6. If you scroll up a little bit, I think I have Tennessee 6. So, so that's a good Tennessee team that they lost to in overtime. I mean, they had Tennessee on the ropes there for a bit. But my thinking is, Omar, like literally from number 1 to like number 10, maybe even 11. It's pretty close, man. I mean, I think Mississippi State could beat any one of those teams ranked ahead of it on any given week. I think I think Ole Miss, who I ranked number 1, could lose to any of those teams down to like number 11 on any given week. I mean, it's a really competitive year in the SEC, and that's my biggest takeaway from this. Is that, like I said with Georgia, so Georgia's falling confirms my belief that the top 10-ish teams in this league are all pretty even. There's not a truly one dominant team at all in this league. There's some really good teams and a lot of pretty good teams, but there's not 1 or 2 teams that are just the kind of separated from the pack, in my opinion, which I think makes it fun. I think it makes it interesting. I have no idea. If you said, hey, who's going to play in the SEC championship game? I have no idea right now. I mean, Texas has a favorable schedule, so I think Texas would obviously be a smart choice to get there, partly because they have a very easy schedule. But it's just so much parity in this league that we haven't seen even before Texas was in there. It was always Georgia and Alabama, right? Georgia and Alabama. Maybe somebody else would sneak in there from time to time. But this year there's so much parity in the SEC that I think every week's going to be fun and every week's going to be interesting.
Last, I'll let you go on this, and it'll take you a second to think about it. Catch and I did this exercise yesterday, and I want to kind of get your thought on this. So I'm going to put 4 outcomes on the table for you. Okay? 11-1, 10-2, 9-3, 8-4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which one for you is the most likely outcome for Texas as it sits right now?
Well, I was at 10-2 before the season started, so it'd be easy just to stick to that, right? But honestly, I'm probably going based on what I've seen through 4 weeks. I'm going 9-3. I think Texas loses 2 conference games, and mind you, they've got a really easy conference schedule, and they're getting Oklahoma most likely without John Mateer, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know where those other couple losses might come from. I mean, you mentioned, could it be a Mississippi State? Could it be a Vanderbilt? I mean, could it be Florida this weekend? It's possible, but Georgia seems like one, but Georgia's not world beaters. I mean, A&M's playing good football, obviously. Arkansas was playing really well offensively. I thought they'd give Notre Dame a fight last week, but then Notre Dame beats the crap out of them. I'm going to go 9-3, but I'm almost talking myself into 10-2 as I look at it because Texas has arguably the easiest schedule of any SEC team, probably. But yeah, I'm going to go 9-3. I think they'll probably lose at Georgia, and they'll stumble, in A&M, possibly at Vanderbilt, possibly at Mississippi State. Who knows what's going to happen with Oklahoma? If Mateer's not playing, they should be able to handle that game. But I think they'll probably drop one other game along with Georgia. So I'll go 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to argue against that, Jason, and there's more conversations to be had with that. But like you said, A&M's still playing pretty good ball at this moment, even though that game is here, and that's a long ways from now. But A&M's playing good ball. Vandy's playing really good ball right now. And I think for me, Jason, the hard part is if this offense for Texas doesn't come around, your defense can only hold serve for so long. Like at some point, some team gets hot. At some point, some team gets a little lucky. Like Vanderbilt got, put up points last year against this defense. We know that Georgia did as well. And, I feel like we said the same thing about Georgia last year. Like they're not world beaters. And we said that twice about them.
Yeah.
And in both times, you're like, oh, snap. Well, maybe they are, right? So, but all right. So 9-3 would be your thing.
What was yours? I'm curious. What were yours in catches, Mark?
I made it easier for you because we did a percentage. And so we did 10% on 11-1, 40% on 10-2, 30% on 9-3, and 20% on 8-4. Yeah. But we said that we could easily switch that 40% to 9-3. Yeah. And vice versa, right?
I would be fully in lockstep. I probably would have switched them, but yeah, I think 10% and 20 on those 8-4, 11-1 sounds about right. And then, those other two sound pretty close to you.
Yeah, and I think like at that point, either one can happen. Listen, we know this, Jason. I'll close with this. If it does finish 9-3, that ends up being a disappointing season because Texas won't make the playoffs at that point, even though they'll think they will. My thing is, I think the committee continues to tell us, Jason, is that just because you're in the SEC and you lost against SEC teams doesn't mean you get to go to the playoffs by saying, look at the teams we lost against. Like they're going to want that won't help you when you're talking about Indiana and who they've beat or anybody else you have to compete against. I think they told us last year with 9-3 teams, that's just not good enough.
Yeah, I agree. 10-2, I think gets them there no problem. 9-3, you're playing with fire.
Yes. All right, Jason, get out of here, buddy. I appreciate you.
Okay, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, Jason Sugamel, my guy, orangebuds.com, recruiting guy. If you missed any of it, go back. Oh, man, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as well. Our last day of September before we cross into October. I'll be back at noon. Modcast coming up soon. Prize picks tomorrow or I think I'm recording tomorrow. I don't know. I got a lot going on. I'll be back here. By the way, wait. What's the Benji Will the season opener help us? It all depends. Oh, Benji, real quick. It all depends on who the other losses are against, right? If you only have two in the season opener losses against Ohio State, then you're good. If you have three, then it doesn't help because now you're just talking about the teams that you lost against. And again, all you got to do, Benji, is go back to last season, go back to South Carolina, go back to Alabama, go back to Ole Miss. They all tried to make that argument that, hey, 9-3 should get us in. Committee just said, no, we're not doing it. And that's the thing. And as strong as this conference may be, the committee is letting everyone know, like, we need this thing to be balanced and equal, and we're not going to favor the SEC. So we know for sure the SEC champion to get in. We know for sure that the runner-up will get in, and usually the conference champion and runner-up for most conferences will get in. You have your at-large, and then you have some other programs in there. Notre Dame may not be in the mix. That might be the thing that helps a little bit. But at the end of the day, as Jason said, you don't want to be playing with fire at that point. In 9-3, you are playing with a lot of fire. And here's the other thing that won't help a little bit, Benji. Some of these wins, they're going to say, these 3 wins are against, non-Power 5, non-Power 4 programs. That's not going to help. Florida might suck. Oklahoma might be without Mateer, right? You just kind of go down the list. Now, Mateer may come back and maybe that helps. But if he doesn't play, that doesn't really help. How many quality wins can you have against what will probably ranked opponents at the end of the season? That's going to be the other one as tough as well. All right, y'all. Get out of here. Remember, I always say live each day like it's your last. One day it will be. So go out and do something special for yourself because you absolutely deserve it. Uncle be back here at noon. All right. So y'all take care. Be good. Peace out.